Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation. Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 18th day, Thursday, 18th day of April, which means we are 1 week to this hour, to this minute, 1 week away from the NFL draft. A lot of hype coming into the draft, a lot of hope and change. NFL fans are looking forward for the organization, and again, myself, Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez will be with me. We will give our mock drafts for the first top 10. We will do the show and talk the draft for the top 10 picks. My show's an hour. Obviously, we're live here on Roku TV through the Northeast NESSP channel. We will be live on that channel for the first hour, and then you can check out the rest if I go over, which we probably will. If we go over that hour, tune into the Sports Scope YouTube channel, and please subscribe to that channel, okay? Again, we're 1 week away. Speaking of NFL draft, I have put in my mock 11 through 20, but I will recap my top 10 as well. Recap the top 10, go through 11 through 20. I've compared multiple mock drafts with what teams' needs are. I've been very close, more spot on than a lot of these professional analysts. I'm just going with personality of the coaches and whatnot. So either way, plus we got NBA playoffs. Really good game. That was a good game last night. That Philadelphia game, Miami game was a playoff atmosphere. I'll talk about that. And of course, wow, we are going to have excellent NBA games on starting Saturday. We'll go over, we'll pick all those tomorrow, by the way, with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez, but I'll talk about a little bit about those games tonight as well after the break. So let's take our first and only break, and I'll be back here in 49 seconds. I hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. If I can find there we go. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty here. Now I'm back here live. Okay, now, last night's game. A lot of you, and I was doing the program during the start of that game, and as I mentioned yesterday, giving you score updates and whatnot, the Heat, that first half, double-digit lead, looked like the team. You start watching the ball movement of this Heat team, and it's like pass, score, perfect score. Bam playing above his head there, playing like a guy that is 7 foot sometimes. Rather, what is he, 6'8", 6'9"? And, Jimmy Butler doing Jimmy Butler things, Tyler Hero doing his thing as well. But then the second half comes about, and Joel Embiid, I tell you what, he the 5 assists he got there. I love his spacing in that game. And, of course, the MCL injury which is going to put out Jimmy Butler. That's going to put him out for Friday's game. They're probably finished. Just that Nicholas Platoon. You start to look now. I know they're a 7 seed. There is surprises all the time in postseason play. Heck, an 8 seed got to the finals last year, folks, in that Miami Heat team. And, we know that Embiid has been hurt. He's been back for a couple weeks. And, they're playing really well on a winning streak. Pretty hot down the stretch. Maxey has kind of come into his own. He's getting a little bit more seasoned and mature now. And I will tell you this. That I know that this weekend, what a great series, huh? Philadelphia and the Knicks. Knicks match up pretty well. It's a pretty evenly matched series. You would think that this would be pretty lopsided. Listen to the players on this Philadelphia team here. That when a team starts to lose like this, they kind of fall under the radar, I think. And, you forget about guys like Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Nicholas Batum used to be a starter. Now he's coming off the bench, 6 for 10 from 3, red hot player here. Buddy Hield, totally another guy's kind of floated. He's a talented player, just hasn't got a right role on the right team here for him to fit. Comes off 18 minutes, 7.6 assists for Buddy Hield here. Not to mention you've got veteran experience with Kyle Lowry here. And, of course, Embiid, 23 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 for 17, even hit a three-pointer there. A great pass down the stretch there to Kelly Oubre to pretty much seal the deal for this 76er team. That's going to be a tough series. Now they're going to play the Knicks on Friday. Excuse me. I keep saying Friday. I'm so used to the Knicks games being on Friday night for whatever reason. Maybe I was just still thinking about that OJ thing where they played the Rockets back in 94 on a Friday night. Anyways, okay. They will play Saturday. They will play at New York Saturday, Brunson, Anunoby, and that bunch there. And that place is going to be raucous, But my thing is that's going to be a tough series. This morning, the Knicks were favored. Or excuse me, the 76ers were favored as a 7 seed. One of the few 7 seeds ever to be favored in the history of the game. And I want to say I reposted that. I read this stat today, and I could not believe it. But hey, listen, they've got the star power edge. If you want to, I just mentioned, Harris, Embiid, Oubre, Maxey. Just say Embiid and Maxey, and you say, well, they just got Brunson. You got Brunson there. So let's see. I'm trying to see if I can find. I thought I reposted that, but I might have not have. And that's very unfortunate about Jimmy Butler, MCL sprain here. I did repost it, but either way, this afternoon when I was checking FanDuel, exactly negative 110. For the record here, they're going to be, and Knicks are favored by 3 to win game 1 in New York here. But yeah, it's negative 110. Very right much down the line. It's a pick'em series, which tells me this is going to be a 6 or 7, 1 or 2 shot type of series coming up. Nick Nurse, I'll say this. Last year in the play-in game, same situation. If they're playing, if they're down that much with Doc Rivers coaching, I think that they fall apart. They're not poised enough. And Miami, even with the MCL sprain of Jimmy Butler, who got a key steal there at the end, got the dunk towards the end of the game, was kind of limping around, though. That his leg had been bothering him before that. They would have lost that game. But with Nick Nurse, again, with that key passing there, something that Embiid is, I saw he's added that to his game. I guess he's watching the Joker down in Denver and thinking, okay, well, I need to emulate some of that as a big man and be a complete player. The Embiid of last year, during same situation, he's taking either a long jump shot or he's trying to get a hook shot, a fall away type of hook shot at the rim instead of hitting the key man down in the post like he did to Oubre to pretty much seal the game, the 1-point victory over the pesky Miami Heat here. So tomorrow again, we'll go over every playoff game. Myself and Carlos, Matt New Yorker, Chavez. And as of right now, that's about how it is in my head with the Heat and with the Knicks and the Philadelphia series at the pick'em. I'll probably take the home team here, but we'll see. That one's going to be one of those great series to watch. Okay. In another news, of course, Zion Williamson down. We found out he's going to be done. The Pelicans are going to be done. It looks like it's going to be the Kings. Now, of course, they don't play until tomorrow. The NBA's dark tonight, which kills me. I don't know why they didn't play them tonight. So I do think the Kings are going to. The Kings are, the Kings will go on and they will get that 8 seed. And they will play the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that's another 6 or 7 game series. That's going to be great. A 1 in the 8. I wouldn't be surprised if the 8 didn't win because they've got a little bit more experience there with that Sacramento King team. All righty then. And, of course, like I said, I know Alex Caruso is going to be out for a while for the Bulls. That's a big blow, but I still like them over the Heat, which they will play tomorrow night. They are actually underdogs against the Heat, go figure, without Jimmy Butler with his MCL sprain. And, of course, Kings over Pelicans tomorrow. It's only a 1-point spread. I'll tell you, I don't know. I like the Kings to get that win without Zion Williamson, But anywho, okay. Yeah, and I've been reading about the NBA personalities boo-hooing about the Warriors. I said you should blow this team up last year. I was just reading today that league sources believe Andrew Wiggins will be included in trade talks this summer as Warriors look to improve their roster. Go figure. Yeah. And Klay Thompson, there's a good chance he by the way, Orlando. I haven't seen zero Orlando games this year. There's a chance that he could sign with them, but they are in the playoffs. They will be playing Cleveland. That'll be a good game to break down as well. All righty then. Now, let's talk NFL. Again, 1 week away. 1 week away, NFL draft from today. Going to be live talking. We will have myself and Carlos Badnioker Chavez. We'll be talking the first 10 picks. A lot of drama there. 3 to 4 quarterbacks expected to go in the top 10. Is there a possibility that Drake May could fall? He's gotten a lot of bad press. There's been a lot of bad opinions trending about him. Your Merrill Hodges of the world. He just had such a bad year compared to his sophomore year. I know he lost some players there. Very vanilla offense. I've liked Drake May. I've seen him have some bad games, but also, mind you, folks, the great John Elway never got to a bowl game. One of the greatest quarterback prospects of all time, John Elway, never got to a bowl game. Andrew Luck played for Stanford also. They didn't have that much success at Stanford. But John Elway did. I mean, he never got to a bowl game, never got 6 wins at Stanford. Guy was according to Mel Kiper, the number 1 greatest prospect of all time. He's still one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Our top 5, easy. Top 5. Okay, him and Patrick Mahomes, Brady, Montana. I mean, they're right up there. 5 Super Bowl appearances. So I'm not so sure that Drake Maye is going to fall, but he could. He very well could be that one to fall in this draft. I still think, now that being said, usually around February or March, this is just from my observations, listening to pre-draft hype for a good 20 years now, going back to my college days, where I was actually watching those hours and NFL, all those ESPN shows where they have those huge panels. They can't afford those now, but those huge panels, and they would just talk about draft news and everything. We did a show about that, talking about it, myself and Carlos, Mad New Yorker, Chavez, when Chris Mortensen passed away a few weeks back. NFL got John Clayton, rest in peace, Stuart Scott, those ESPN personalities. And you'll hear initial picks here and mock drafts. Then you start hearing crazy talk here. Sometimes there is a dip from the narrative early on. For example, the narrative did change a bit for Reggie Bush back in 2006, right? He was supposed to be the number 1 pick to Houston back in them days, back in 2006. And turned out it was Mario Williams. It was the defensive end at the very last minute. Most of the time, that's not the case. It's usually what you hear February, March. Then you start to see a lot of smoke screens, okay? A lot of smoke screens. I got that sense that this is going to be one of those drafts where teams are not going to reach. I could be wrong. I just don't remember Trey Lance. The 49ers trade way up, give up multiple picks to get Trey Lance. And we saw that now he's no longer on the team. They actually took the very last player picked in that draft to be their quarterback. Brock Purdy. Trey Lance is traded to the Cowboys for a late draft pick. Practically nothing, okay? And I mentioned players from the past that weren't just world beaters as quarterbacks, but teams needed quarterbacks. Guys like Christian Ponder. Nothing personal against Christian Ponder. I've used his example a lot. Guys like E.J. Manuel, 2 former Florida State players, drafted pretty high, overdrafted. Jake Locker, Titans fans, okay? He was like number 8 or whatever. He was way, way overdrafted. The guy was a total bust here. You just don't want that to happen. Zach Wilson was overdrafted. That's why they got Aaron Rodgers. Then, the flip side, you've got guys like Dak Prescott, a starter, drafted in the, 4th round? Okay. Russell Wilson, want to say he was a 3rd-round pick. Drew Brees was a 2nd-round pick. Montana, I think, was a 2nd-round pick, maybe a 3rd-round pick. Dan Marino, drafted later in the draft. Aaron Rodgers himself, supposed to be the number 1 pick overall. He fell to the 20s. Turned out to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, multiple MVPs in the league. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens traded back into the 1st round, picked him up, and he was a lot better player than Baker and Sam Darnold, drafted in the same draft. I mean, I still think Josh Allen was the better player. It still is, even though he doesn't have the credentials. He don't have the team. But my point was, Lamar was drafted later in the draft. So it works out both ways. teams reach sometimes. So my thing is, I think it's going to fall. I don't think there's going to be any big trade-ups. Could be wrong. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think a lot of it's smoke screens, but we'll see. Okay. Peter Schrager was talking about this is NFL.com guy. He says that he thinks that the Giants of all teams, the Giants are going to trade up with their limited roster to 4 with Arizona to pick up Drake May or JJ McCarthy, excuse me. They're going to trade all the way up to get to trade up 2 spots when they're sitting there at 6 to get JJ McCarthy, a guy who kind of has the resemblance of a Mac Jones, a solid player, a 5-star guy, but he played on a woefully loaded championship team where he often never even threw 200 yards in a game. I don't really get this. I don't know if his football IQ is that good or not. Okay, so anyways, let me go back here, recap my first round top 10 since I didn't put it in place till April the 3rd. Now it is, what is it today? The 18th. I keep telling myself I'm going to put it in that crawl, and I never do because I've got other things to do when I get home. Okay, number 1, I don't think that's going to change. I think this is a consensus number 1 pick. This is almost as a consensus, not quite a Victor Wembanyama who's lived up. He's going to win Rookie of the Year, I think. Caleb Williams, USC is going to go to the Bears at number 1 overall. That's no big hot scoop there. I think that's going to be lock and play. This other one, the more reports that are coming back to my way of thinking, just like I nailed the Anthony Richardson pick to the Colts at 4 last year from Florida. I think it's going to be Jalen Daniels from LSU is going to go number 2 to play with under offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. That's going to be a fascinating offense to watch. Remember, they've got Terry McLaurin there to throw to. You just hope their line is a little shaky, to say the least. Line is shaky. But this guy's a great athlete, a lot of read option stuff. The type of offense that's going to be installed around him is going to be perfect to neutralize that pass rush. And we know that Daniels has the athleticism to make things happen. So, plus everything I hear and read, that's all. People that were putting May at number 2, now that's changed. It's going to be Jalen Daniels from LSU going to the Washington Commanders, where, again, Cliff Kingsbury will have free reign to do whatever he wants to do as a offensive coordinator. That was mentioned when he got hired. Here. Okay, now, number 3. I'm going to be contrarian to what some of the rumors are. Okay, I'm still going to say that the Patriots, who have Jacoby Brissett, how could you sell that to the fan base? Now, I'm no fan of Jared Mayo, but I got a sense that he's a pretty good coach here. He's a pretty good coach. I didn't like those smart comments he said about being a victim when he just got, talking about because he's the first black head coach or whatever. But I still think that May will go there to the Patriots. There's a possibility they can trade down if somebody gets crazy enough to come up to 3. We shall see. Again, I will believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Now, I know nowadays there is more trading up and down than it was 20 years ago. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of it is not the rumors that you hear coming into the draft. Okay? I'm still sticking to my guns that it's going to be quarterback. Caleb Williams, USC, going to the Bears at 1. Jalen Daniels, LSU, quarterback. Going to the Washington Commanders at 2. Drake May, quarterback, North Carolina, going to the Patriots at 3. All right. Now, at 4, this is the one also been talked about a lot, but I'm still sticking with my guns. Marvin Harrison. I talked about the Arizona. They really need help. I mean, no Hollywood Brown. Rondale Moore's gone. They're going to go forward with Kyler Murray. They're not going to go quarterback again. I saw some stuff on Malik Neighbors that said he could be somewhat of a diva. There could be some issues here. I've read that about him. And then I've told you I didn't like the way that Harrison has blown off both his pro day and the combine. But then I got to thinking, if you're adding the two together, and someone brought up the fact that look at the quarterback drop off from his sophomore year, where he destroyed it with C.J. Stroud, to his junior year. That quarterback has transferred to Syracuse, and they've got a new quarterback in there, and they're supposed to have a loaded team. That's why his numbers really dropped off last year. I still think with his dad, as disciplined his dad was, from the tape that he's got, he's going to still stay at 4. It's going to be Marvin Harrison at 4 to Arizona, unless the trade partner comes. I'm going to believe that when I see it. Okay? I'll make another mock if they do a trade. If there's a trade made between now and next Thursday, that's what I'll do. All right? Number 5, I'm still going to stick with Malik Neighbors going from LSU to the Chargers unless there's something more read into those reports. Because they've lost 2 receivers. Okay? I'm not sure. Malik Neighbors, 4.3 speed. I know that Harbaugh wants tackle. I still don't think he's going to go with Joe Alt when they've got Rashawn Slater. Do you really want to take another right tackle there? Mel Kiper, early in his mock drafts, he did have J.C. Latham, the right tackle from Alabama, going there. But he's kind of alternate. Let me go back here and check. I think he's backed off that and also went with Neighbors. But I have got his mock draft here. I've got a lot of people's mock drafts here to make some of my notes here. Okay, here we go. Actually, I did not put his mock, but I think he is actually still sticking with the Neighbors pick as well, because Neighbors has skyrocketed. I mean, that's fantasy alert right there. Justin Herbert to Malik Neighbors with that speed and Herbert's ability to get away from the pass rush. That's some big play action right there. He can catch the ball in traffic, and it doesn't hurt him. The fact that he came from LSU, wide receiver South is what I call it. Okay. Now, number 6, Washington, or the Giants. I don't think they take J.J. McCarthy. I think they stand pat, and they take Rome Odunze, wide receiver from Washington. So you've got those 3 quarterbacks, 3 receivers. That's where the rankings are, folks. That's where the rankings are. Okay, and then number 7, a consensus pick here. I've also heard that Tennessee could get some calls. That could be realistic, Titans fans. You still got Denver there, okay? You've got Minnesota behind you. What if McCarthy is still on the board? That could happen, but it hasn't happened, so I'm going to stick with Joe Alt, left tackle. Notre Dame is going to go to Tennessee. And number 8, unlike most people who picked this Dallas Turner to go to the Dallas Turner, the defensive end edge rusher from Alabama, to go to the Falcons, I picked this guy who's got much better stats. He's coming off of 2 years ago, had a bad neck injury, transferred, had 2 excellent years. Everything I hear and read, he's the absolute best pass rusher. This Tatua from UCLA, the edge rusher. He's going to go to Atlanta at the 8th pick. Number 9. This is a little bit of an outlier from everybody else, but I'm going to go with it. I think this Jar Zahn, Jerzhan, defensive tackle from Illinois, will go to the Bears at 9. And then at 10, the Jets wise up. And finally, there's a lot of the mocks are got Brock Bowers, which I think is crazy. I mean, yeah, I like Brock Bowers just as much as anybody else. But if Rodgers is on his back and there's no depth there, Brock Bowers is the guy. He's not going to do nothing. You know, I've got the Jets at 10 taking Aloha Fashanu, offensive tackle from Penn State. He can play right. He can play left. Very talented, very high ceiling. I know Tyron Smith is a starter. You know he's going to be injured. You'd be lucky to get him for 12 to 15 games. You're 17. Maybe plug this very talented rookie in there to help this Jets squad move forward. Okay, so that was my mock top 10. Let's go 11 through 20. This is huge because you've got Denver and you got Minnesota, two teams that we both know. We all know. We both, me, you, and I. Yeah. That they need quarterbacks. But you're saying, well, what do you think, Rob? Well, you're about to find out. You're about to find out what I think, folks. I'm about to pull it up here real quick as soon as I can find it here. Mock draft 11 through 20, part 2, part 3. Yeah, I've got to find out what I did with it. I think I've got 11 through 20. All right. I think I misplaced this thing. Lord help me. But I can tell you off the top of my head most of it anyways. Let's go to the draft here. Okay. All right. If I can get all this, I've got so much stuff here. Okay. Now, Minnesota. Minnesota has the 11th pick. And I'm looking here. I know I've got this thing in here somewhere. Okay. Minnesota has the 11th pick here with New Orleans. Of course, we know that they have Sam Darnold as their starter. They have Kevin O'Connell as their offensive coordinator. They're sitting there at 11, right? Nobody made the move in my mock draft to get McCarthy, to go up and get McCarthy. Now, the Giants didn't pick him in my mock draft, okay? Nobody else did. Denver didn't move up. So they sit there at 11. Just let McCarthy come to you. I think they'll draft him with that 11th pick. So, like I said, there's rumors that Denver could come up. I know Denver has Jared Stidham. We'll see, and jump ahead of them, maybe come up to Tennessee. Denver's right behind them. So that's going to be very interesting to follow on draft night. Okay? But I'm thinking that Minnesota stands pat. Remember, there's other players in this draft. There's other quarterbacks. There's still Michael Penix. There's still Bo Nix. You know, Colin Cowherd is good friends with Sean Payton. He swears that Payton loves Bo Nix. Bo Nix has not shown up in any of these first rounds of any of these mocks that I'm reading. Okay? So we'll see what happens. I'm saying McCarthy just falls right to Minnesota. They don't have to make that move. They're going to put him with Sam Darnold. He'll let him and Sam Darnold battle it out in camp with Kevin O'Connell and see and let he pick whoever may the best man win. Okay? Now, number 12, which is Denver. again, they have Jared Stidham as a quarterback after cutting Russell Wilson. I know they like Bo Nix. McCarthy would already be off the board. I'm projected that they need pass rushers like nobody's business. I think they'll get Dallas Turner, who has fallen at this point. Turner, most mock drafts, most of them, like probably 4 out of 5 that I've read, have Dallas Turner going 8 to Atlanta. Some have him going to like Chicago. I didn't have him going to neither. I have him going to the Broncos at 12. The Broncos at 12. I think they go ahead, roll the dice, get the best player on the board at that point to provide a need. They do not give up any draft capital. Okay. I did make some notes. They do not have a second round pick, but they do have a third round pick. Could they make a move like a Tennessee did, I think last year, right? They make a move and move up into the second round, or make a move and move up into the third round, possibly, and get a Bo Nix? Yes, I can see that situation happening. Very much so. Now, they could. Everybody wants to move down, but the problem of moving down is you got to have someone who wants to move up. They would love to move down to, say, 17, 19, because at this point, Brock Bowers is still on the board, folks. Brian Thomas, the LSU speedster, opposite of Neighbors, he is also on the board. Xavier Worthy's on the board. Now, that may be kind of a reach for Worthy. They would love to move down 17, 19 and still get maybe a Penix at that point and possibly get another third-round pick. Hard to get people to come off those second-round picks. But I'm saying I think that they take this Dallas Turner and they hold their breath. I did make a note here that Sam Hartman from Notre Dame, he is 4th to 5th round pick. Let me see, but let me make sure I got this right, because I remember looking this up earlier. He's a 4th to 5th round pick, the Notre Dame. Well, they've got a 3rd round pick. They've got a 4th round pick, Sam Hartman. Spencer Rattler is supposed to be a day 2, day 3 type of guy. That's the former Oklahoma, transferred to South Carolina, sensational talent, little shaky at times, wasn't very consistent, but you could see the talent in him. A guy that could probably sit for a year or two like a Jordan Love, but he is very, very highly sought after type of player. He's going to get drafted. He could be, him and Hartman could be one of those day 3 weekend guys. You forget about them. Then when they come out, you're like, dang, man, they things worked out. So keep an eye out for that. Don't think, again, I do think that Dallas Turner, edge rusher, is going to go to Denver if they cannot trade down. If they can. Okay. So we're at Vegas at 13. Some mock drafts have them taking Michael Penix from Seattle, or from Washington. Most of the mocks, though, that I read say that they're not. A lot of people, they have them taking a cornerback, which they always had problems throwing. You got Antonio Pierce. You have the defensive-minded head coach. I'm not of that ilk. I know that this team, their glaring need from everything I've read, more than anything other than quarterback, is right tackle. We know that they love to run the ball. Antonio Pierce, that running game, saw what they did. We saw what they did to the eventual Super Bowl champion Chiefs, beating them on Christmas Day, barely passing the ball at all, running the ball big time like nobody's business, knocking them out. I think they're going to take this J.C. Latham from Alabama. He's supposed to be an excellent run blocking right tackle. That is right up the alley of Antonio Pierce. Remember, he comes out of Tom Coughlin's system. He was a linebacker for the Giants who beat that Patriot team in that elite Super Bowl 2007, beat that undefeated Patriot team there with the David Tyree catch. Alrighty then. So now that's 13. I've got them taking a right tackle at 13. So now 14. Everybody says the big glaring need for the Saints is also tackle. So the best one on the board, because I've already got a lot of these guys off the board at this point, is I think they're going to take. Let me go back and check here. I may have made a mistake. Let me go back here and look at my top 10 again. Because if Fuga is not off the board, I just thought about something. Yeah, I think they're going to take this Fuga guy from Oregon State. This tackle here is going to go 14. Fuga from Oregon State will go to the Saints, folks. He will go to the Saints at 14. I dropped the ball here because I was getting behind. I was going to say they're going to take Amarius Mims from Georgia. No, they're going to take Fuga from Oregon State. Better prospect here at 14. Indy. Okay. The Indianapolis one's pretty easy. Indianapolis got smoked on the corner last year. They gave up an aging corner, okay, that went over to the Cowboys. I can't remember his name, but he was he's close 30, and he was a big part of why Dallas played great defensively. Stephon Gilmore, former Patriot, former Bill. Well, he went on to Dallas, and they got roasted last year. They absolutely got well, they're going to get the best cornerback available. He's the first cornerback off the board. This Quinyon Mitchell has really went up charts. I thought it was going to be Cooper DeJean from Iowa, but this guy from Toledo with the Colts at 15, this Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo has really shot up draft boards. He goes 15th to the Colts. That couldn't be a perfect, much more of a perfect landing spot. Some got them taking Brian Thomas from LSU. They've just re-signed Michael Pittman, their general manager up there, which has been the same for a while. He's not big on going too wide receiver heavy. He's not big on paying receivers, although he did play Pittman, whose dad played in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. Turned out to be a great pro. They signed him to extension. They're not going to go receiver here when they really need a corner, and this guy's a very good corner. He's rated as the best cornerback on available at this point. So 15, Quinyon, Quin Mitchell from Toledo, cornerback. All right, now 16, Seattle. Some are saying maybe they can take Michael Penix. Michael Penix played for Washington, which plays in Seattle. It would be perfect. But everything I read in here, I think he's going to probably slide. I really do. I think he's going to probably – I like Michael Penix. I think he could be the best player with the right team, best quarterback in this draft. But he's coming off of 2 ACLs, okay? I know it's going back to Indiana, but that's just is what it is. Teams are going to be scared of that. He's going to fall because of it. I would not be surprised if Seattle said, hey, we're picking 16th. You're picking that in the second round. Maybe he's not going to be available. I still think that they're probably not going to take that hit. They're going to go with this guard here from also Washington, Troy Fantu. Guard tackle, they've got a lot of film on him because he played at Washington as well. He's another guy that is shooting up draft boards that I did not hear about. I did not hear about this guy 6-7 weeks ago. But this is one of those players. This is not a situation about trading up and stuff. This is just one of those players after you look at his pro day, after you look at him and really study the tape, teams really like him, Fantu. So I do think that he's going to be number 16 guard tackle. It's another offensive lineman off the board. He will go to Seattle at 16. Now, Jacksonville could not be happier. They've got Brian Thomas on the board. Okay, remember they lost Calvin Ridley, but they still got Christian Kirk. Let me ask you, who do you think's the better prospect? The tight end, Brock Bowers, who's still on my board in my mock draft, who's supposedly, I was almost for sure he was going to be a top 10 pick, possibly top 5. But Cal Pitts didn't really do well. Maybe teams are thinking, okay, well, tight end, don't go that far up on the tight end. You know, he was a top 10 pick, right? Cal Pitts from Atlanta. I think that they probably won't go with another receiver. And I know they've got Evan Ingram. I think they're going to go with the better prospect, which is Brock Bowers. Some mock drafts, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, let me go back here and look. Mel Kiper, Brock Bowers at 10 to the Jets. Now, I think Brock Bowers goes 17 to Jacksonville. They pass on Brian Thomas. They pass on the speedster that is on the board at this point. They get they want to put Brock Bowers with Ingram. Just Giant fans know Ingram's inconsistent. Brock Bowers running up the middle of the field, that would be huge for Trevor Lawrence. Okay, now number 18, the very huge glaring need for the Bengals is defensive tackle. They lost DJ Ritter, who is now with the Detroit Lions. Okay? Need to get those sip of water here. So they've lost their defensive tackle. I think this guy, who's got a lot of hype, by the way, Byron Murphy, very good athlete, defensive tackle, light on his feet, 300-something plus pounds, easily considered. He's the most talked about. I want to say he got in a little bit of trouble here, and his stock is dropped. Now, I did have a tackle going ninth. This guy's rated as a better, according to Pro Football Focus, this Zen Harn guy from Illinois is rated as a better player. Byron Murphy, sought to be a late first, early second. I think the Bengals is a perfect landing spot to take over for DJ Ritter. So I got Byron Murphy here from Texas. Let me look. Sure, I think he got in trouble for some kind of driving, some kind of alcohol-related arrest. And I want to make sure that I'm not misquoting myself. Yeah, he was arrested for DWI. So he's going to fall. He's going to fall. So I do think that that Jarzon Newton is going to rise, but I do think he's not going to fall too far. I think he's going to go to Cincinnati at 18, folks. All righty then. 19. The Rams are just, they're like, no, man. Rams also need an edge rusher. A lot of the other mock drafts have Jared Verse falling to them. Some have this Tatua Puga from UCLA. These analysts are saying that scouts and and managers are still scared and nervous about Tutupa, the edge rusher from UCLA, that they're still scared about his neck injury going back 2 years ago. He's had 2 dominant seasons with UCLA. And I'm saying that he's got a clean bill of health. What have you done for me lately? He's going to go off the board at 8 to Atlanta, but they still need an edge rusher. And this guy's name is Chop Robertson. You know, maybe that's his nickname, but they do need that edge rusher. They need some help on that line. I don't think there's a defensive tackle, that's rated as high as the 19th overall prospect. So I do think this Chop Robertson from Penn State, I do think that he's available as an edge, and he's the highest rated edge rusher. So I have him at 19 going to the LA Rams, who snuck in the playoffs last year. I'm curious of how they're going to play without Aaron Donald, but they score a lot of points. We shall see. And if everything I hear and read, they're going to get a pretty good edge rusher here from Penn State. All right, number 20. Number 20, the Steelers. Now, the Steelers, there's still some offensive linemen there on the board. This Samarius guy from Georgia, they've got a need for interior offensive linemen, that Steeler team. But remember, folks, they have lost in the past season, the past 2 seasons. Deontay Johnson, he got traded to Carolina this offseason. Chase Claypool, he was traded before last season, and not this past season, but the season before. He was traded for a second-round pick to the Chicago Bears. All right. Remember, they signed Robertson. They signed Allen Robertson. Well, they cut him. He didn't work out. Okay. So Brian Thomas, the speedster from LSU, falls right to and by the way, you got a good deep ball throwing quarterback there, and Russell Wilson. Brian Thomas would look good in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. You still got George Pickens, which could have a total breakout year this year. I expect him to. And Wilson's going to instantly have chemistry with Pat Freiermuth, the tight end. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to look pretty good. I think they'll look at the second round to shore up that interior, not exterior, interior offensive lineman. I think they'll do that. I know they need a center. They need an offensive line. I think somebody said they're going to take a center. I think it was I want to say it was Mel Kiper. But yeah, this other guy thinks Brian Thomas Jr. is going to go there as well. Peter Schrager from NFL.com, and I totally agree with him. See what Mel Kiper had Graham Barton from Duke going to. That's an offensive lineman. I think he could play center. He's got this Duke offensive lineman going at 20. I think Brian Thomas will Mel Kiper thinks that Brian Thomas is going to go 17th to Jacksonville. I think he's on the board, and they take the speedster, and they're going to look a lot better. Arthur Smith is going to be thrilled to have this guy to be able to game plan. Had a very good 40 time there. That's why they were scored a lot of points. I mean, you had Jalen Daniels at quarterback. You had Malik Neighbors over here at one side, a 4.34 guy, and then you have a 4.36, 4.40 guy on the other side. I mean, you got 2 track stars that can catch the ball in traffic. Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors, wide receiver south is what I call them, folks. Okay, so tomorrow I will be back here with Carlos Madden, New Yorker Chavez. We're going to pick these playoff games. We'll go over the biggest stories of the week with him. I'll get his opinion on the DeJounte Porter lifetime ban from the NBA. We'll talk about that. Throw a little bit of Bill Belichick getting thrown under the bus by his owner there Robert Kraft and whatever that crosses our path between now and then. Anything can happen. We could have another big trade. We could have a big trade because we are less than a week away at this point, folks, from the NFL draft. So if you like the show, share the show. I'll be back on tomorrow with the Mad New Yorker, pending something crazy. And we will get this show on the road. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place here on Sports Scope.